Okay, so here we go. Who's here?
Better quality, lower cost. Capture the market with better quality and lower cost. Understand it.
I can't hear it that well.
Okay, let me see if I can do something to improve the,
Thank you.
we're going across two different bands here, so let me see if this helps. Wow, I hope so.
One has to know how to produce quality, or what quality is, what the ultimate aim, and quality goes all the way through an organization. Could be no better than the top, no better than the intent of the top people.
That is Dr. Deming's single most important point. What needs to be done can be done only by top management. Professor Robert Reich, the Harvard economist who joined Dr. Deming and producer Claire Crawford Mason in this discussion, says that management too often thinks that reducing costs will solve the problem.
There are a lot of ways to reduce costs, but that is not going to enhance our standard of living, because our standard of living is based on improving the quality of our work and our skills, our skill bases, the value of what we do.
The irony is that Dr. Deming's 14 points will, in fact, reduce costs, but that isn't the point. They will create jobs and provide better products and services for the consumer. Quality will go up, and so will our skills. Best of all, we can reverse the slide in our standard of living that has become noticeable.
Point number 5 is continual improvement of processes. Finding what's wrong is not improvement of the process. If there were a fire here in this building and somehow we put it out, that does not improve the building. That's not improvement. That's putting out fires. People, it's very important to understand the difference between putting out fires, plugging leaks, and improvement of processes. One company I asked, what do you do about these problems? Well, we run it down to the bitter end. Even if we have to go to Brazil to find what happened, we find it out. It sounds great. That's a path toward destruction, because they're not studying the system. They're managing outcomes, managing defects, instead of looking at the system that produced the defects.
Point 5 sounds like point 3.
Well, yes, in a way it does. Each of Dr. Deming's 14 points is implicit in all the others. The way not to depend on mass inspection, point 3, is to continually improve the process, point 5. To do that, you'll need quality supplies, point 4. If finding a quality supplier takes time, well, remember point 1, constancy of purpose. And also remember to adopt the new philosophy, which just happens to be point 2. No one of Dr. Deming's points stands alone, nor did he intend that one should. The 14 points are one philosophy, an original way of looking at business and industry or anything else. But for our purposes, the 14 points are the body of knowledge that management needs to cure America's economic problems. And they have to be learned, because no one is born with that kind of knowledge.
Point 6, training and retraining.
Point number 6 is training and retraining of management and of people. It's no good to tell somebody to do something when he does not understand why. You could not even, you could tell me to wash that table. I would not know what to do if you don't tell me why, what you're going to use it for. If you're going to eat off of it, clean it up now, and use it for some chemical purposes, not at all.
Dr. Deming's point is that not only must the workforce be trained to do the job, it must know what the job is and why it is being done. Put it another way, true leadership is not a matter of giving orders, but of giving explanations. Dr. Deming believes that the American workforce is the best in the world, the best educated, the most creative, but it must be led, not driven. Professor Rice says it's a matter of recognizing the worker's value.
Your most precious possession is not your financial assets. Your most precious possession is the people you have working there, what they carry around in their heads, and their ability to work together.
Dr. Deming says the best way to get workers to work together is to explain specifically what each person's job and responsibility is. then to divide the work into specific steps. Each person treats the next person along the line as the customer who must be satisfied.
Everybody as a customer in any organization, be it a laundry, bank, newspaper, manufacturing, education, no matter what. To do my work, I need to know who's going to use it. Whom am I working for? In an organization, who's my customer? Why am I here? What am I doing? And the customer, the next stage, must work with the preceding stage. Somebody put it so well, an anonymous contribution in one of my seminars. This I can do for you. Here's what you would do for me. Isn't that nice?
When work is organized that way, it's easy to see that two basic beliefs of American management are simply wrong.
Blaming the worker, right?
In a way, the first belief is that if everyone did the job and worked hard, you'd get quality. But if the process is wrong, all the hard work in the world can't make quality.
Make sweat.
The second belief is if workers would pay attention and not make mistakes, all our problems would be solved.
Won't work.
Well, when Dr. Deming is asked about that, he asked people how they think Continental Illinois Bank got into trouble.
You think that happened because of mistakes of tellers? Mistakes in calculating interest on penalties and loans? You think so? Does anybody think so? From operations? Nonsense. Those things are attributable to management.
In fact, Dr. Deming says only 6% of the problems in industry can be traced to the workers. 94% are caused either by management or by the system. And since only management can redesign the system, only management can be blamed if it's wrong.
Justice.
Well, it's not exactly fair. Just as the workforce has to be trained, so does management. Leadership has to be better.
Point number 7 is improvement of leadership, which we commonly call supervision. I think that it should be called leadership. These people help them to do a better job, be it in management or on the factory floor. Supervision should be replaced by leadership. There's no secret, once again, about what leadership is. What leadership must do is to help people. Point 13 is self-improvement. Program of self-improvement. Education, improvement in other ways, helping people to live better. Education in whatever one's fancy might take them into. History, music, archaeology, anything, whatever. Keep people's minds developing. Education need not be connected with the work. Maybe better if it's not. The point number 6 is training and retraining for the job. Point number 13 is elevating people's minds. No organization can survive with just good people. They need people that are improving. And the problem is people at the top. In any profession, the good ones are hard to find. Help people to be good ones. But the education need not be connected with the work. People keep people's minds moving.
Okay. That was a little lengthy, but well
Someone
worth
wrote
it.
a note to me on my.
It was well worth it because what Dr. Deming did, there's different versions of the story about the Duke, but he was a World War II gunner, a bomber on a B-52, and he got to see cities just dissolve whenever the bombs hit. And so he was originally a professor, when he got drafted. But after the war, he volunteered to go back and help reconstruct Japan and Germany. And so when he started, because they had to start from zero, everything was level. And so when he was helping them reconstruct their manufacturing. He started talking about the most important things, where this is where he come up with these 14 points. And so all the processes were loaded towards quality raw materials, and then making sure that you trained your people and involve them in the process and let them know this is what you do and this is why you do it. And anything that you see that we're doing wrong, the lowest person on the totem pole can stop the process, or they can just improvements. And so he brought that to them, and Toyota took it seriously. And so
Hayton.
he went to Japan, did the same thing there. And that's how those automotive companies and the manufacturing companies have just handed us our hat. Is he came back home to Detroit and says, would you like me to show you what we did in Europe and in Japan? And they're like, no, we do management by objective. We say build a car, and then we walk away from it. And then if the car doesn't get built, we say, hey, you a-hole, you messed that up. That's American management. And so my experience as a leader, more so than a manager, because you have to manage things when you're leading, is that if you take care of the people and you give them the resources they need and the training they need and feedback, telling them how they're doing, then they'll outperform any of your expectations. They'll do a better job than you could ever expect it. And one of the things I also bring from the military that just is not accepted in management outside of it is you always train your replacement. And so mentoring is a very important aspect of leadership, teaching people to take on more responsibility and to do your job. We had to do that in the military because in combat, they could be your replacement in a second's notice. One stray bullet or explosion, and there's a new sergeant or a new captain. And so it was a necessity that they've always trained that way. But when I got out of the military and tried to apply those same concepts in industry, there's a lot of pushback because people want job security. They want to say, I know what I know, and you can't do this job unless I'm here and I'm telling you how it goes. And so they try to make themselves irreplaceable, and it harms the organization. It harms the morale of people that are trying to learn more and to take on more responsibility. So it's really hurting that organization by not adopting these total quality management. That's what it's called, TQM. Their process for leadership and for training and resourcing. So you probably know there's probably signs in your workplace if it's TQM, if they're doing what Dr. Deming suggested. But it has to start from the top. And as a consultant, I've been asked to come in and establish TQM at different times. And so I train all of the people at the ground level, all the moving parts people, and show them what's involved in it and what to expect and how they can contribute and what the rewards are of it. And then I go to the mid-level management and I train all of these shift leaders and these supervisors and operations managers. And then I go to the CEO or the general manager and they go, I know what it's about. I go, yeah, but you're the most important piece of this. If you don't know and you don't hold the standard saying, no, we're not going to get drug off into that management by objective, go do this. I don't know how you do it, but if you do it wrong, then I'm going to be telling you all about that. If you don't get the top of the leadership saying this is how we're going to do it and then enforce it, it's a short-lived process. I mean, I actually got hired to come back to the same place a year later and do it again. I said, remember we had that conversation about it starts with you? So if you want to spend the money and I'm $5,000 a day, sure. And so another 6 weeks I spent collecting a check, teaching all of these folks who are already doing a great job. It was just the main leadership wasn't buying into it. So they were just checking a box. Yeah, we're TQM. We got posters up everywhere. but it's a whole different environment where people feel like they can say something if they see something that needs improved. And that's a major challenge to the current leadership generations that came after the baby boomers. Work is not priority one. That's not their first priority.
I think it's a prideful thing too. Here in corporate America, it's a total prideful thing.
It is, but I think that now that we've got a whole different generation that's in key positions, their first priority isn't to that organization. Their first priority is to their family and friends. And then maybe their second one is to their time off, to be able to spend it with their family and friends. And somewhere around the third or fourth priority, oh yeah, and my job. And so now people keep themselves trained and employable and marketable, so they don't have to stay 30 years in one place. If they see a better opportunity, they go to that other opportunity. They don't stay there for their entire career. And if you have a great organization, you will have people that stay 20 years. If you've got an organization that's like, oh my God, where's my next job? Then it's never going to get this quality that we're going to talk about for chapter 6. So
Do you think that circles back around to being like expendable though, especially when it comes to like warehouses and stuff like that?
There is when you deal with a large number of people and there's turnover, because there's physical and there's long hours and there's no appreciation for the workforce. People that if you ignore them long enough, they will go away. And so
it doesn't even matter how much you're getting paid. If your supervisors and everybody are coming down on you, if you don't have that TQM mentality, you don't feel like you're valued whatsoever. And you think, well, I can make another or go find another job making darn near close to it and they'll treat me better. It's about going in and actually not minding being there and feeling like you've actually accomplished something and put something forward towards the company, and they're doing the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a commitment or an involvement. And you can't get that unless you treat people like they are part of the process and the solutions. And if you, like they said, only 6% of the problems and issues in industry is related to the employee, 6%. But they get blamed for 94% of it, the flip side. So I think there is a change coming, and especially after this pandemic, when people start coming back to work, that there's going to be a thing like, well, oh, I don't need this. I'll just do something where I can be virtual. Why would I want to be in an environment where I'm not appreciated? I could be at home and just, work 4 or 5 hours and be part of it there. So it's really a mindset, and it takes strong leadership to enforce and to keep away from that management by objective, because that's like and I don't want to hit on McDonald's because they do have their own leadership training, management training, but that's like, say, an 18-year-old that's the manager of a McDonald's. He's just got like a clipboard, or she does, and they go down the checklist, go do this, go do that, go do that. And it's an authoritarian type communications one way.
Right.
And so they'd have to have more maturity and more training and more experience to understand the democratic, where it's two-way, where you say, what do you think we need to do next? Or what do you think you're best at? What would you prefer to do? Or do you guys want to work in a team and have 2 of you do this and get done twice as fast and then we're out of here? They don't have the maturity to use the democratic process, but this new generation, that's all they know, is they want to work with people. They want to communicate with people. And we were on track to be overcoming this old style of management, but then technology stepped in. And now everybody is glued to a phone, texting. They don't have interpersonal communication skills. They can't negotiate. They just get whizzed off and they'll send you a text like eat, poop, and die or something. And they don't know how to involve people. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board on interpersonal skills to teach people how to become team members and how to show empathy. That's the big thing that's missing in our society, is people don't feel what other people are feeling. They just are looking out for what they want and how they feel. So the golden rule now is passe. It used to be do unto others as you'd have them do to you. That's not good enough anymore. Now it's do unto others as they want done unto. And so you have to be psychic to know what these people want or how they want to be treated. And it puts you at a major disadvantage. So I might be old fashioned because I'm old, but I still try to treat people like I'd want to be treated, or I'd want my family to be treated and my friends to be treated. I don't treat anybody any different than that. So as long as you have that golden rule, then you really can't make enemies. I don't have enemies. But Dr. Deming, if he lived till he was 91. There's a couple of schools named after him. They still have a company where they train people in the processes and all that stuff. It's still very successful. But it's the new gold standard for leadership. He doesn't even like it called TQM. He wanted it to be called total quality leadership. And what is the big difference? Can somebody tell me the difference, what the difference is between leadership and management?
One is actually leading, the other one's just barking orders, you know, like actually explaining the process and why you want to make the change and what the change is implementing. Explain out, like he said, you know, if you want me to clean the table, you can't just say clean the table. You got to say, well, what chemicals to use? How do you want it done? What parts would you like it done and why? Right. So that way the person, even if they are on the bottom of the chain, they fully understand that step to where there's no confusion. It cuts out a lot of the question marks.
Right.
And I also think leadership, lead by example. You know, a lot of these management, I think what really ruins managers is they just constantly, like she says, you bark orders, you bark orders. Well, to me, being a good manager is not only giving orders, yes, but showing how to do it correctly, asking if anybody needs assistance. You lead by example. And that's the real only training there is doing it yourself and showing others how it's done.
I think also though, from the manager standpoint though, in their minds, they figure a lot of the time, if I have to do this all the time for you, what is the point of having you here? Like you are hired to do a job. So I do see it from both angles, because if the managers are constantly showing everybody all the time how to do their job, how are they supposed to do their job? So I think there's a fine line of balancing.
And in total quality, the person standing next to you, your peer, shows you how to do the job, and they train you how to do it because they have a commitment. They want this person to do as well as they are that just got here, and they knew that maybe they were there when it was. They don't want this person to have that same experience where they just say go do it and figure it out. But the way that because I was in charge of companies of soldiers, I had 400 people that I was responsible for on my last assignment. But the way I look at it is management. I keep track of how many chairs. So it's an inanimate object. It's a report. I'm managing resources. And when they think about managing people, they look at it that same way. I'm managing 400 people. I know where they are and I know what they're supposed to be doing. That's not leadership. Leadership is people facing. And so a manager looks out for the best outcome for an organization, like the bottom line, the profit margin, all of that stuff.
Want to hit the quota, the numbers.
Yeah. A leader looks out for the people. And if it costs the organization money or time or effort, so be it. The dedication from leadership is that the people are the most valuable piece of the organization, which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have a lemonade stand outdo Chrysler Corporation because the right people are working that lemonade stand, and then it becomes a nationwide and a global phenomenon. Whereas at Chrysler, people aren't motivated and they're not treated well, and the product starts suffering and people quit buying it. And so that was an example. I'm not knocking Chrysler, but they have had 5 owners in the last 15 years, so it's a hot potato. But yeah, facing towards the people with their interests in mind and taking care of those people to train them and to make sure they're not overworked and that they got good benefits and that they enjoy coming to work. That's a leader. And sometimes
Also-
it's impossible for a
Also-
manager to assume both those roles. There's this, they're in the middle where they're torn to take care of the organization, and they know they can't get there unless they take care of the people. But the people are job one. Everything else will come after you take care of the people.
Also, Ms. Jens and the team, the exigencies of or the necessity of leadership now is really, it's not like something that's a manager's choice, it's a must, because with these techniques like surveys that customers do, and also because some you know, when the manager like put his feet or like assume the responsibility of the employee that knows something that the manager does not know. I mean,
Yeah.
did like some details.
And that employee will never tell them if they don't feel like they are part of the organization. They could be, I mean, I had people that worked for me that had 10 or 15 years more experience than I did. And if you're moving through leadership pretty quick, pretty soon, you're going to be the youngest person in the room. And so you have to win those people over or develop a followship, make people want to follow where you're going by
Leadership.
being authentic and being and sticking to your word. When you say this is what will happen and this is what we'll do, that has to happen and that has to be what the outcome is. And they have to know that you are their spokesperson for their best interest. And that if there's a situation that comes up, they're not afraid to come and say, hey, I screwed up. You don't have to find out later there was some kind of accident or spillage or something. They don't hide it. They come and say, hey, I need help getting this straight so we can get back to, you know, where we need to be.
Yeah, and need trust.
And that doesn't happen if you don't have that trust, right? But you have to earn it. You can't just like get a little name badge that says manager and everybody's supposed to trust you. It's an investment in time and in personal relationships where people have seen, well, that's a straight shooter. That's not a hypocrite, you know. Like Leslie was saying, the lead by example. They're out there, and I got paid this $5,000 for a day to go make managers stack boxes of meat that was like 100-pound boxes of meat to go get the managers off out of their offices and their desk. And of course, the CEO of the corporation said, "You go tell them to do whatever you want." And so I got them off all. Well, I got a report to in a minute. You do. And so this one section in the warehouse that was holding up 30 trucks leaving was putting all these turkeys, it was around Thanksgiving, on pallets so they could get them to the door and get them out of the place. Well, a couple employees suggested, why don't we just stack the turkeys at the entrance of the refrigerated section because we're going to be using so many of them. And management says, no, it goes on the shelf where it's supposed to. So, and this whole building is refrigerated. Everything is. So why couldn't you just stage those turkeys at the doors where the trucks are going to back in, and then it's already there? Why did you have to?
Because it wasn't his idea.
Right.
Some people have that mentality. If it's
Yeah,
not their
it's
idea.
a prideful thing. It's
Yes,
a prideful thing.
Even if they know it's a good idea, they're like, I didn't come up with it. That Joe Schmo did.
But
like,
that pretty
we're not
much is
doing
like
it.
a power trip, pretty much.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So to show the management, these young managers, you know, who are in charge and turned that option down, I said, well, here's what your employees experience, and you need to be out here with them. You need to be enforcing breaks so they're not in that freezer more than like 20 minutes. Frostbite's real. And so I took them out. They said, we're only going to be gone 20 minutes, but they picked up 100-pound boxes that whole 20 minutes. They're stacking pallets of meat. And so a couple of them tried to wander off and said, hey, you leave, keep walking, because I told the CEO, I need the authority to fire somebody if they're not going to respond to training. And the person kind of changed color and then came back and started stacking boxes again.
Yeah, I bet.
So after that drill, I said, you know, you wouldn't even had to come out here and done anything had you took the suggestion of staging that heavy stuff right by the door where it was leaving. So why wouldn't you take good ideas and put them into play? I mean, it wasn't costing you anything, but you just seen what it costs your employees when you don't listen. And I said, so we're going to do this every night for the next week. And they all just like, oh my God, I think I need to be sick. I said, that was just a threat. Tomorrow night, I want a couple of you to volunteer to come and work at this position. But they should already be staged at the door. And so I had to do those kinds of awareness kind of exercises.
A reality check.
Yeah. And I don't find any pleasure in other people suffering. These people were out of shape because they've been set behind a desk. Some of them didn't have the cold weather suits that they're all issued. You know, they never put them on because they never go out and walk around and help anybody. So it changed a whole lot of operations, the way that they were doing things the next day. They came to work with their freezer suits and they were out there in the area. So I couldn't find them. I said, if I see you in the office, I can find you. I will find something for you to do. And so they were all out in their areas working with and the employees would come and say, what in the hell is going on? It's never been like this. And today I actually got twice as much stuff done than I've ever had. I've been here a year.
It brings more morale to the company as well. It really
Yeah.
changes the environment when, you know, leadership or management gets out with their team. It really does.
And the quality all improves. If people don't like where they're at and what they're doing, they're not going to care. If people like where they're at and they want it to stay that way, they want that same environment to survive. They don't want them to go back to the, you know, Stone Age stuff. Then they take some pride in it and some ownership, and they'll tell another employee like, hey, pick that up. Somebody will drive over that. And then we got to have housekeeping come out here and clean this whole section. So you dropped it, pick it up. So they police each other. They said that box there costs our company and me, you know, $20. So pick it up. And that's Deming's approach, is getting everybody buy-in and then let them share in the rewards. They got different bonuses, each shift did, and then it went down to teams and it got down to individuals. If you make an individual a bonus and say, hey, if you can get 300 boxes out of here in an hour, you're getting a bonus. They will ride over everybody, knock over anything to get that. If you say, hey, if your team together can get just 200 boxes because we're only getting 100,
they're going to work together.
And all of you are going to share in the bonus. There's no single bonus. Everybody is going to have to contribute for the team to make 200 boxes, but then everybody gets the bonus.
So let me ask you a question. What happens if you do a team building exercise like that, where it's everybody's working as a team to get a prize or an incentive, but you have, say, 2 people on that team who just don't want to pull their weight? Then what do you do?
Well, and that there could be some physical limitations. It could be that that's all they could do. And then you've got some people, we don't know what's going on outside of this place. And that's why if you're a leader, you do know what's going on outside of your workspace. You know that they're going through, their kids are sick, they're going through a marital issue, they're trying to buy a house. There's other things that are happening when they come into that workspace. And a leader knows what else is going on. And so I'm getting deep in leadership, but there is this thing that's called span of control. And that's supposedly the number of employees that you can effectively lead. And the military, all branches, has defined that as 6. So every 6 people have a leader. And then all those leaders, or 6 leaders, they have a leader. And then all those leaders, 6 of them have a leader. So it's very deep and tall when it comes to leadership. There's one every 6 person. And the civilian version don't want to spend that kind of money on paying leaders and managers. But there's still ways that you could have like team leaders, even if it's $1 difference an hour, to give them incentive to try to pull together and take care of 6 people to make sure that their head's in the game, or if they need to be trained on something else, to have that kind of attention to help those people develop into future leaders. I had to do a couple projects where that went on. I had to force these managers. I gave them these coins and it had their picture on it. They were wooden nickels. I said, you got to give 5 of these away every day while giving a positive feedback interaction with an employee. You got to tell them they did something well and tell them what it was. At the end of the first shift, some of them still had the 5 coins. I go, you're a no-go. Now you got 10. And so, and you got an hour. So go find out what's going on out there with your people and find 10 people doing something right. they're so used to going out and looking for things that people are doing wrong. They didn't even know how to
Right.
praise people. They were like, I don't know how to do that. I go, here's you a script. Now go. So it's just a learning process. And again, the difference they saw on productivity and on absenteeism and on safety, all of that stuff went through the roof because the people responded to that type of positive leadership. So we'll, I have an exercise I want to do with this one, and it's quality control is about attention to detail too. This went a little off track on leadership, but all of his stuff is about the details, making sure that you got the right raw materials to start and that you got the right training and the right processes. Like if the first machine that you come to is in the middle of the process, that machine needs moved. And so that all the processes are in line where it reduces waste and time and effort. So this is an attention to detail. It's kind of a little oddball. I do weird exercises. So in this one, you got the two pictures. You did these when you were a kid, right? There's 10 different things between these two pictures. I'm not sure if you can see it that well. Let me blow it up some more. And hopefully it doesn't go grainy. Let's see if that helps any. It did move it a bit.
The cake on the bottom, one's yellow, one's brown. I'm going to be quiet a lot because I got a lot of work going on in my house. Some construction, so it's going to be noisy, okay?
Okay.
The lid on the wine bottle is different.
Okay. Can you see my arrow when I point?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, I can.
so you got this lid on the wine bottle is different. Is that the one you're talking about? Or is it
Yes.
different?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the cake down on the bottom of the basket where the yellow and the brown, the inside,
Mhm.
the inside of it.
Oh, okay. The box?
No,
looks like
inside
the
of
cut
the
of
cake.
meat. Looks like
The
a
brown.
colors.
Yes.
Oh, I got
Go on
you.
the-
Like
Very-
it looks
yep.
like a ham or something. There's a dot in the middle of one dot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
two.
Oh, no.
Oh, her buttons,
Yes,
her
there it
buttons,
is.
her buttons are
Buttons.
spaced out.
Okay, her buttons are different. That's three.
The bread at the something the brown at the bottom, the round thing, the circle, there is a point there, like white. I'm not sure. The bottom of
This
the
here?
no, the other one, the orange, yeah, that one.
Yeah, we got that one.
Yeah, the V-neck.
Okay.
Okay.
The color
Her
of her V-neck
t-shirt's
shirt, I
different.
think.
Yeah, her t-shirt's blue and maybe that's tan or something. So that's 4.
How many are total?
10.
Oh
Let's
my.
get about 8.
Oh, I know. I saw something.
There's 2 on this shelf. There's 2 on this shelf.
I just saw something.
What is it?
Okay, so you know where you've got that piece that has a ribbon on it that's on the shelf, and next to it, the piece, you know, shows the color green. Well,
Yeah.
if you look in the second picture,
It's like
the second item is a different color.
Okay, that's 5. Good
And that
deal.
candy,
Okay.
the thing on the second shelf
The
on the
mirror,
far right.
whatever it is.
Yeah, on the far right. On the left, it's like shaded pink on the far right of that. Do you see in the
Also-
corner of the picture on the far right? Second
Oh,
shelf?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Behind
Okay.
it,
that part of it. Yeah.
All right.
Also,
Oh,
also
well,
in
then
that big,
top shelf.
that big globe in the yellow, the green is actually a little different shape than the
it's not in
green.
line
in-
with-
Right. And then look, if we go all the way to the top of the
Yeah, by the
shelf,
books.
the shadows are
Yeah,
The
totally
book, yeah,
different.
the book of the
Okay.
shadow.
That's 8,
Yeah.
9. Damn, you guys are smoking it.
To the right, the book to the right, the blue book has a like a little chip on it. To its right, You get that one?
Yeah.
Her shirt, like the V of her shirt is a different color in the middle.
Okay, somebody got that?
Okay.
I think there's something different about this package here, isn't there?
I almost want to say the yellows are different, but my
It is.
eyes,
One
are
goes
they?
on the
Okay, I
right,
didn't know if I
one goes
needed
on the
my reading glasses on, Mr. Yancey.
Yeah, they're on opposite sides.
Katie, are you driving, trying to do this? Oh my God. Kate's driving doing it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
I
we
am.
got
The the
so we
shape,
got the kid.
the
And
shape on the packages is different. The oval is kind of a different shape.
It's
Yeah.
on the opposite side.
yes. So believe it or not, these exercises you were doing when you were a kid was to teach you attention to detail. And so in quality control, a lot of times within that process of whether it's manufacturing something or assembling a package of something or shipping out a trailer full of something, it's one's ability to look and see, hey, something doesn't look like it's in place there, or what's missing in this picture kind of thing. And that attention to detail, when you are applying for like a senior leadership, like a corporate level leader, they give you these kind of tests. That's why I was bringing this up. You're thinking, well, that's grade school. You go and take an interview for management, and they'll say, okay, give us some attention to detail exercise here. Tell me what you can find wrong in it. And they won't tell you how many things. You're sitting there going like, well, the shade of her eyebrow on the left looks a little bit. I mean, you're inventing shit because they didn't tell you how many things are different.
Oops, sorry, I forgot to mute.
Oh, that's all right. I'm sorry. All right, so that's kind of the exercise we wanted to do for that one, and everybody that participated, of course, is going to earn some points in there.
Quick
So,
question.
Yeah.
Are you doing the video quizzes today like we've been doing in the
Yeah,
past?
we already watched the first video. It was about dimming. And now
Okay.
everybody that's here is going to get the points for that. And if you've already done it, that's great because you can contribute more on a discussion about it. But you get bonus points if you've already done it. So the next video is on chapter 7. And we've got some fun stuff that we want to do with this. And this is kind of an odd subject to me. They talk about your emotions at work being contagious. And so, like we were already talking about, if you give negative reinforcement, people turn you off. They get negative. If you're positive reinforcement, then it kind of changes everybody else's.
Tactical zoom lens be made illegal.
Yeah, I'm getting some kind of advertisement I didn't need. Let's put this over to the right screen here. But this is I think a much shorter one than the last one. It's just a few minutes. It's a TED Talk. If you haven't,
This is the first reasonable
if you haven't
replacement.
discovered TED Talks, they have them. It's like YouTube. They have it on any subject that you can imagine. But these are mostly corporate successful folks, and they share some like best practice that they're doing at their organization. And so this one is kind of a little different. It's got some psychological babble in it, kind of.
I want you to take a moment. As you sit here right now, just notice how you feel. Close your eyes if you need to. And notice how you feel. I want you to take a moment and try and notice how do your seatmates feel. Person to the right of you, let she feel, how does he feel? Person to the left of you, the person in front of you is giving off kind of a funky vibe, right? Behind you, how do they feel? No touching is necessary. It's an individual sport. Okay, just notice how do they feel. We're going to come back to this idea of how we feel and how others feel around us and the implications of that in a minute. But I want to open by telling you a story. So several years ago, I was working with a large nonprofit, and this was an amazing nonprofit. They were doing some incredible work in the world. And the CEO had hired a new COO, new Chief Operating Officer, and they brought her in to really take that nonprofit from where they were to the next level. So they could really make a difference. And within 6 months, she had done. She had added all these new systems and structures. The nonprofit was operating in a way it never had before. And that was awesome. The CEO couldn't have been happy. The board couldn't have been happier. There was this one little nagging issue. Her team. Her team never seemed to really fully get on board with her as their new leader. And within about 6 months, they're going to HR and they're saying things like, I'm just unhappy, I'm working here, I'm depressed. And they start using words like, she's kind of got a toxic personality. Okay, so being a curious guy, I went and go check that out. So I go walk over to where her team's sitting in the building, and in their area, they've got this bank of cubes. And I walk over there and I don't hear anything. So I think to myself, well, they've probably all gone to lunch, but I'll check it out anyway. So I turn the corner and I look around the corner in the cubes and they're all hunched around the table. And they're all working on their laptops kind of frantically. They're not talking to each other. They've got these kind of serious sullen faces as if either somebody died or something smells bad. It's just kind of one of those faces. And I kind of wave to the group and one person kind of waves to me, but it goes back to the laptop. And I think, all right, so it must have gotten bad news today. I go over and I knock on the COO's office window and she invites me in. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll see what I learn. Well, 10 minutes of conversation later, nothing really new has happened. So I leave the office. Here is the most interesting thing in that whole exchange. It's how I felt when I left the office. I felt tired. I felt kind of depressed. I wanted to go home and take a nap. In fact, I might have actually gone home and taken a nap. And so it begs this interesting question for us that when we think about workplace emotions and emotions in the workplace, are emotions contagious? Are emotions contagious in the workplace? And why this is kind of a fascinating topic for us is we'd say, yeah, we get the idea that emotions can rub off on each other. But for some reason, we think when we're working, we leave our emotional stuff at the door. Like we come in and we just do work, whether we're in student teams or going to an office, we just leave it at home or leave it somewhere else. My favorite examples of this, I think that illustrates the point really well, is if you've ever seen the movie A League of Their Own. It's based on all-female baseball league in the 1940s. And Tom Hanks is one of the managers of these teams. And at one point, one of his players is crying. And Tom goes over to the player and he says, there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. And I think it really hits this point, wow, that when we think about work, we think, no, we're supposed to leave all the emotions at home. And yet when we talk about colleagues, we often use words that are emotionally charged. We say, oh yeah, she's super positive. He's enthusiastic. She's got this great attitude. Or we flip it. We say, oh, he's toxic. He's cancerous. Or my all-time favorite, he's an emotional vampire. Sticks his fangs in you and sucks you till you're dry. So it really makes this question for us. So what's real around this? Are emotions really contagious in the workplace? Well, the really fascinating thing is this has been a growing body of research over the last 20 years studying this phenomenon. And they've labeled it as emotional contagion. Elaine Hatfield, one of the early researchers in this space, actually said, yes, not only are emotions contagious, but what the trigger point for that is mimicking other people's expressions. You go into a workplace where everyone's kind of frowning, you'll tend to start frowning too. You go into a workplace where people are happy and upbeat, you'll tend to operate that way too. And that's not new for us as human beings. That starts at a very early age. So if we think about the early tests for autism, when an infant is 6 months old, one of the early tests, they put that infant, that child in front of mom. Mom smiles, baby smiles back and say, oh, things are great, things are good. If the baby looks away or doesn't smile, we say, oh, this could be a sign that they're somewhere on the spectrum. Well, now, if we fast forward, we take our infant, we fast forward several decades later, and she's in a workplace and she's working. Well, emotions can be contagious. It can infect her. And the reality is, we don't know what's happening to us. That's the kicker in all this. It's purely unconscious. In many ways, it's almost like a yawn. When we think about this phenomenon of a yawn, many of you are probably seeing this right now, yawning. I won't take it personally, okay? We see someone yawn, then we yawn too, and someone sees that yawn and they yawn too. It's like doing the wave in a stadium, right? In many ways, it's like that emotions, but there's a difference when we talk about this. Because a yawn is a momentary moment in time. We yawn, we move on. But when we get infected by someone else's emotions, it stays with us. We can carry it through that day. We can carry it home to our families. We can carry it into work the next day and infect new people. It operates a lot more like a virus. And it can be infectious. Now, the good news in this is unlike our normal associations with viruses that were always bad, when we talk about emotions, it can actually be an okay thing. So researchers James Fowler and Nicholas Prostakis, they found in studying people's social networks that when you had friends and colleagues that were happy, and they say this infectious of happiness, you had friends or colleagues that were happy, you had a 25% higher likelihood of being happy yourself. So we can see that happiness can be infectious. And there's lots of different emotions that can infect us. It could be fear or sadness. It could be happiness or joy. Those are all infectious. But there's one that is more infectious. That is negative emotions, negative emotional contagion. This is the most infectious. If someone has a blow up, or they're coming to work angry or sneering all day long, this can have the biggest impact. It can put almost a wet blanket on everyone who works around that person. All right, so we get this idea that emotions are contagious. Emotions are contagious in the workplace, and that not all emotions are equal. Some are more contagious than others, but thickens. Okay? We are not all made the same. We have varying degrees of susceptibility to emotions. Some of us are more susceptible to emotions than others. Some of us are like emotional Teflon, just kind of rolls right on. Others are very, very sticky to this. So psychologist William Doherty and his team have put together a 15-point emotional contagion scale to help us identify, all right, well, how susceptible to this are we? And it gets even more complicated. Not all workplaces have the same level of emotional richness or emotional stickiness. Some workplaces require what we call higher levels of emotional labor. And what this means is, in that workplace, in that job, you're required to put on a certain emotional mask every day. So we think about our folks who work as waiters and waitresses or servers. They're expected to be happy and positive, regardless of how they feel, regardless of what's happened to them that day. People who work in retail, hospitality, hotels, amusement parks, airlines, same kind of emotional labor. In some jobs, it gets even more difficult because the people we serve just don't feel good, and they feel worse every day. Think about nurses who work in hospice settings. The level of emotional labor is exceptionally high. Okay, so one more piece to this puzzle, to kind of round it out, this complexity of that system where we work. There's one person who has a greater impact on our emotional well-being than anyone else, and that's the boss. So if this person is coming into work every day, sneering, grumpy, unhappy, that's going to put a whole cloud not only over the people who work directly with that person, but that whole culture. However, if that person is positive, upbeat, and optimistic, that can create more positive kind of light shining through that culture, which again can allow us to infect others. All right, so we roll all this together. Now imagine you're in a job with high levels of emotional labor. You've got to fake it every day. Your boss is like the person behind me, unhappy and kind of cranky. Your coworkers are not particularly thrilled to be there and seem pretty sullen every day. And you're highly susceptible to all of it. Work is going to be pretty tough for you. But that might be just exactly what you need. So let me tell you my story. When I was 10 years old, my oldest brother, Chris, committed suicide. And that was not only a very difficult time for me and my family, but it was really a kind of turning point for us. Because up until that point, for years, Chris had been putting a lot of negative emotional contagion in my family. Dale, actively involved in drugs and alcohol. And so my memories of a lot of yelling and screaming at the nights he was home. My parents yelling and yelling back. And I remember just being very susceptible to all that. It was my personality, or growing up in that, it was very sticky for me. So I remember going up to my room and hiding under my blanket or hiding in my closet just to find a way to get away from it. So about a year after Chris died, I came down with an uncontrollable stutter. I could not speak in public settings at all. So every day before school, and by the way, this is middle school, so middle school was not the best time to have a stutter. I would go into school and I'd practice my B's and my P's. My nightmare was ordering a pepperoni pizza because that never really ever finished. So I went through all that and I made this decision about people. I decided, based on all my history with my brother and my stutter, people are way too messy, way too dysfunctional. I was not going to play. I'm out. So I disconnected from people from pretty much all of high school and all the way through college. Ironically enough, I majored in communications in college. And like the most good communication majors, I was unemployed at graduation, wondering what I'm going to do with this degree. And I took a job with a small chain of retail stores. It's family owned, it was privately held. And so I go to work on my first day of work. My boss greets me at the door and he says, all right, you're going to be the assistant manager of the store. We're really excited to have you here. The first task before you get started is to go in the back room. And waiting for you in the back room is the current assistant manager of the store. But he doesn't know you're coming. Your job is to go back there and fire him. And then you get his job. And that was how my boss rolled. So he'd come in, he'd say, Susan up front, I don't like what she's wearing, go fire her. And he created such a level of negative emotional contagion in that workplace that when employees knew he was coming, they would rally together and stage a mass walkout. He'd walk in the door, they'd all walk out the door. And that moment in time for me kind of woke me up. I had a couple of realizations about life, and more particularly my life. First, I realized work should not have to suck. It should be a source of fulfillment and purpose for all of us. It should not be a source of pain, anxiety, depression. We can't choose our families, but we can choose our workplaces. Second, the world needs better leaders and managers. A leader that understands the emotional well-being and health of an organization can create such a wonderful thing, not only for those people who work for him or her, but all their families and their communities as well. And the leader who doesn't understand that or intentionally inflicts pain into a system has the exact opposite effects. And third, I realized my purpose through all this in life. Sometimes pain creates purpose. I realized my purpose is to eliminate all workplace dysfunction everywhere, forever. I had no realization. I did not understand at the time how much job security that was going to provide me. But today I'm still on that mission. So what about you? If you find yourself in one of these environments, what can you do? Well, there's really three things you can do. So the first thing is notice your own emotional immune system. How do you feel when you're with your boss, or you're with your colleague or coworkers? How do you feel? Bob Sutton, a faculty member out in Stanford, tells this great story of a consultant who's doing research on what makes a good manager and leader. And the consultant asked what he thought was a throwaway question at the end of his research. He said, when you go meet with your boss in his or her office, how do you feel after you're done? Turns out that's the best indicator of how well a boss performs as a leader. And notice how you feel. If you don't feel good when you're with your boss or when you're with your coworker, try to find ways to limit those interactions. It could be as simple as finding a different route to the bathroom. And notice your own emotional immune system, how you feel. Second, be an emotional booster shot for others. The goal would be trying to be putting into that system the people you work with, whether it's student project teams, workplace, 3 positive for every 1 negative. That could be smiles, that could be positive compliments, it could be positive feedback, but be an emotional booster shot. The Gottman Institute, which studies marriages and personal relationships around the globe, found in those couples that stay together over long periods of time and have the healthiest relationships, they give each other positive to negative feedback at a ratio of 5 to 1. Studies around high-performing teams have found exactly the same ratio. So while 5 to 1 is our gold standard, 2 plus 3 to 1. Be a positive emotional booster shot. And then lastly, next time you go out to dinner and that server comes over to you, look him or her in the face, smile, and say thank you. Because odds are we've had a pretty rough day.
Okay. So again, that was a little bit longer maybe than we want to spend on a video. But I am trying to knock down your workload. So when you come to class, you've got half your assignments finished when you go through it. And it gives us a chance to share with what we took away from it. So somebody want to give us an example of a situation where they've encountered an emotional vampire, or they have to work in a situation, and how you deal with that?
Yeah. So I used to work landscaping over the last few summers. And when I first started out, the people that were the elders there and the ones that had been there, they would like make fun of me and make jokes and whatnot. And then they would say, if we're not making fun of you, that means that we don't like you. And it was one of those things where it's like, sure, I understand that's how you might see it, but to me, it's just like I'm getting backlash every time I try and do something small,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. Like I work at Mac Customs, and we deal with old school cars, and we do restorations, and we do everything. So I'm around a lot of old heads that know what they're doing, and they get in they feelings sometimes when I speak up, when I know how to do something way faster and a little bit better. But me being a young buck, they don't, they really don't like to hear what I have to offer. But when I do it, when they turn their back and they be like, oh, well, excuse me, you know what I mean? But it's just, I tend to understand that certain people that was born in certain years sometimes don't know how to let stuff go, and it's just already embedded in them. You know? So it's just, that's just what comes with it. But I never let it affect my energy or my emotions because I know what I bring to the table, you know? So.
Well, they have this thing when you're going through interviews and you're competing for promotions and stuff called a team player.
Yeah.
I think that is the crude analogy of what we just watched, you know, about how you interact with other people, what kind of energy you bring to the dance. And I mean, I've worked with people that I had to ask them, are you like stimulated some way chemically? Because they were always woo, 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 woo. And no, I don't do drugs or I don't do any kind of, I said, oh my God, we have to party. I have to see what happens when you do have some alcohol or something. No, but there's some people that, I mean, in a large group, you will see folks gravitate towards coworkers that they enjoy having conversations with and working with. And you'll see them kind of be kind of short, like, okay, well, that's great, and walk away from folks who make life difficult. You know, they want to dump their emotional laundry on. And that's one of the things that I enjoy at Ivy Tech is that my colleagues all have the same love of their job. They enjoy what they're doing, and they come to work early and stay late to help students. And we all have a common goal. We feel like we're doing something that's worthwhile. And so you really have to get your job satisfaction from some part of the type of work that you're doing. If it's seeing that somebody improves their situation, or if it's just making somebody else smile, you know, that you have to derive some kind of pleasure in going to the work site.
I kind
So
of had that problem at Ivy Tech.
really?
Yeah, so before spring break, I took a business law course, and you could just tell that the instructor was never happy. You know, he didn't enjoy teaching, and he kept telling us how excited he was about, you know, the first 8 weeks ending because he was going to retire, and he just never gave a positive, you know, never gave a positive, you know,
no vibe, no good vibe.
exactly. So I never really enjoyed that class because of that reason. So I was regretted having to sign in for his class.
I mean, we have I actually have taught that class a couple times, business law, and I enjoy it because you get to play courtroom. You know, they get down and dirty with all the. I try to make it fun because I don't want to teach something that's I'm bored. As long as you leave there knowing what you're supposed to, then let's have fun learning what you're supposed to. But if you had to listen to a lecture and death by PowerPoint, that's almost a torture. It's like stick bamboo into my fingernails or something. But yeah, I mean, I can pick a vibe up when I go into a classroom. I was the program chair for 12 years, and at least once a day I go visit one of my classes. One of somebody else was teaching for us, and if I was going to do a real evaluation, like, hey, I'm going to come 2 weeks ahead of time, I'd give them a heads up. So tell me when you want me to be there, and tell me when you got your best stuff, because there's some parts of a course that the teacher really can relate to, and that can bring personal experiences and stuff into it. And I said, I want to see you at your best, so tell me when to come. And so I already raised the bar up. I expect to see you are in your element, and you're well rehearsed, and you're rested, and your students are enjoying you teaching. And so when I give them that pretense that, hey, I'm giving you all the leeway to make this your show, and I come in and I'm not impressed, and the students, half of them aren't there, and the other half say, can we talk to you after class? To me, then I know that maybe there's something going on with that instructor, that maybe we need to move them out of that position for a while or just help them solve their problem. And for a while, it was the difference in technology because they just write on a chalkboard and never even face the class.
Right. Just talking for no reason.
Talk.
Yeah.
And then we got into technology and we got into different student engagement as the core of our job. Like there's some students, they do want to lecture and that's what they're comfortable with because that's what they had in high school and all that kind of stuff. And there's other ones that want PowerPoints. So, and then there's, because that's their learning style, they like to get it in bite-sized bullets and they can digest it easier that way. There's others that want to do something with their hands, tactile. They will show me what you're talking about. Well, you know, how does that work? Why don't you give us an example and let us practice it? And so all of our courses, we design them so you experience all three of those things every time you come into the classroom. You won't get too much of one, you won't get too much of another, but there's something in there for every student. And we get feedback as we're going, like they'll say, well, could you show us that? Or from the questions we get, or from the lack of questions that we get, we know if we're in the right zone. But there's a professional academy for Ivy Tech that trains our professors. And one of the first things they teach them is never use the same mode of instruction more than 15 minutes. And so if you're being lectured, you better have something at that 15-minute part that you're going to do something different. You're going to have an exercise or you're going to show a video or something, but you have to break distraction because the maximum attention span for anybody is 15 minutes. Some people that you lose them in 5 minutes. I mean, I see people wander, their eyes wandering, their phones coming out. You can lose them in 5 minutes because they're super intelligent. They already had experience in it, you know, or there's something else going on. They're distracted, you know, they got an emergency at home, their kid's sick or whatever. But the span of attention, you have to really be on top of that. And so one of our assignments that we give, because I taught all the business classes too. I was an instructor with them my first 7 years at Ivy Tech. When I taught management, I basically was my baby, management and leadership. I'd say, tell me everything you can about the best manager or the best person you ever had to work for. And you'd be surprised that about half the class would talk about one of their parents that they saw in them, what they consider the best leaders and the best management, the way they coped with adversity and the way that they managed the household. And so having a good example is a great way to start off your career in management. But the thing that I learned the hard way is there's this layer of, you got a good manager and he or she takes care of all their people and they're developing them to be the future leader. And because they got taken care of so well, they didn't have to overcome adversity. They didn't have to overcome, you didn't schedule people, so I don't know how to do it, or I was depending on you to do it, or you didn't have me double check everything because you double checked everything. You kind of rob that person of a growth opportunity. So you almost have to pull back if you're that very engaged leader and let people kind of walk that rope themselves, walk the tightrope, or you say, here's your project, I'm out of it. And if you got to answer a question, or you need something you can't do, but I want this to be you to shape it and the outcome to be what you want. On the flip side, and this is where I got all my leadership chops, if you work for somebody that you would never want to be and you never want to work for them again, then you start developing, I'm never going to do that to my employees, or I'm never going to let them. You start seeing from the pain that was inflicted from poor leadership, the lessons learned that you would never let happen under your leadership. And so every other leader I had was like that. And so I'd come in and I'd try to apply what I knew and try to make things better for the people that I worked with and suffer through it. But normally I was their replacement because they did such a poor job. They'd look at, okay, who's actually holding this thing together? And they say, it's you, so now it's yours. And so I was investing in, I wasn't trying to take somebody's job. I was just trying to keep everybody else out of the line of fire and try to keep them moving forward. So, and then I get a reprieve where I get a great person to work for. And it's almost like a sigh of relief that, okay, whew, okay, I just, yeah. And when I interviewed for the couple times that I was looking for a different position or looking for a new growth, I would interview them more so than they interviewed me, because I'm not coming to you and taking the risk that I'm going to be miserable or you're not going to take care of the people that I work with. And so they'd have to pass my interview. That was the first thing. And so when I approached it in that way, they're like, well, you know an awful lot about our company. I said, well, if I'm going to be spending half my waking hours here, I kind of want to know who I'm going to be around.
Right.
So if you do your due diligence, and first of all, that inspires them that, okay, you're engaged and you're intelligent, you know how to research, you know how to ask good questions. It's harder to come up with a question sometimes than it is to come up with an answer. And one of my supervision classes, I had them write our test. The students' assignments was just write the test. You don't have to take it. You just have to write it. So every student had to write a question, and they come back, please just give us the test. That was miserable, please. I'm showing it's a lot tougher to ask a good question, because then they'd be embarrassed if they ask a bad question. I said, take ownership and pride in it. Some of the questions they come up with, I couldn't answer. I mean, you'd have to have a PhD in physics to answer some of them. So, so that was our video. And
also, Ms. Yancey, the one of the things for adversity, usually when I'm with my accent in the department of everywhere, especially in hospitality, people asking just the first question when I start, hey, where are you from? Sometimes they took this as it depends on the vibe on the person asked, but most of the time I take it as like very positive diversity, you know, like like in international, like in recreation, like in Florida or something, you're gonna find everybody in the world there, you know.
Yeah.
It's like there's something positive,
like New
not
York,
like
you're gonna find all their businesses.
yeah, something positive, not like, oh, this is not your country. Just an example, you know. Took it like as this advantages, you know.
Yeah.
well, this is one of the things I've learned about multi-language people that I've worked with, coworkers and employees, is how well can I speak their language?
There you go.
So I try to like be interested in I'm terrible at other languages, but I want to know just to experience the difficulties they have, because English is the most complex, broke ass language. One word means 20 things. And so if you take an interest just to listen for a minute and say, wow, I wish I could speak their language as well as they're speaking ours.
Right.
And it's just amazing that people don't take that kind of consideration when they work with folks that have, I mean, I came from a small town in Kentucky, and I still have sort of a southernish kind of a tenor there. But when I went in the military, they beat that out of me. I mean, people would not take me serious if I said y'all, yunzes, and nimmons. But I go back to my hometown, and they ask me what happened to me. I don't have my, you don't sound like you're from here anymore. And I almost have to go back through a interpretation and bring a hillbilly to English dictionary with me so I can figure out what some of them are saying. And then when I leave there for a couple of days, I got that drawl back or slang back. So language is one of those instruments when it comes to building teams and communicating with coworkers that I don't think we explore enough. And with technology, people aren't talking. I mean, they did a study with all these phone carriers, and like 5% of the time people are on their phone, they're talking, they're having a conversation. The other 95% is texting or surfing the web or doing something using the technology where it's not a phone anymore. It's a portable computer. So I got a couple communications exercises you folks might find interesting. You might say, what? Let's see, here's the first one we're gonna do, and this is, I'm gonna give you just a few minutes. There's 8 steps in this. Can everybody read that? Do I need to make it bigger?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can make it bigger.
Yes.
Let's zoom this up. Let's see if 200% will fit on there. Oh, it's at 200, dang. Let's see if I can zoom it more. I should have just emailed these to you.
It takes up the whole screen.
Yeah. Oh, okay, down here, I think I got it. There we go. Okay, bigger, a little bit too big maybe, but let's see. I can take that piece off there. But I can read it to you, and you can just write the stuff down as we go. Because what you're going to do is you're going to draw whatever this is. So if you got a piece of paper, you can grab that real quick. It's 8 simple steps here. And this is to give an example of written communication, like those text messages that you folks send to everybody. This is a text message, and it's telling you what I want you to do. So in the center of the page, draw a rectangle about 2 inches wide and 4 inches long. Everybody got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the center of the rectangle, draw a diamond shape with the left and right sides slightly extending outside the rectangle. So inside that rectangle, you're going to put a diamond, and just the left and right sides go out slightly outside it. The rectangle should be standing with the longer sides running up and down and the shorter sides running side to side. So turn the page if you need to and draw this diamond where it's barely sticking out the 2 sides. Okay, on the left side of the diamond, outside of the triangle, or the rectangle, I'm sorry, draw a triangle shape with the base centered on the diamond point. So you've got the diamond, the rectangle's getting drawn there, and the triangle pointing left on its side. So it's not pointing straight up and down, it's going to be pointing to the left. It should be about the same size as the diamond shape. So in proportion, this triangle and the diamond and the rectangle are all about the same size. You got it? This is pretty complex, right? I'm just having you draw shapes. Okay. Okay, that was on the left side. On the other side of this diamond, outside of the rectangle, draw a triangle. Now it's the second triangle, right? With the tip centered on that diamond point. So one of them is pointed on the side, on the other one, you got the triangle pointing into the diamond where the tip, the very top of the triangle, is touching that right side of the diamond. And it's about the same size as the other triangle.
So on the left side of the diamond, outside the rectangle. Okay.
So we draw 2 triangles, and they're both pointing basically in the same direction. And see, I'm giving you feedback verbally. I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm just supposed to say, read it and do it. I can't help myself. Okay, on the, we're on this one now. We're on draw a star shape on the bottom of the rectangle. The bottom 2 points should touch the top corners of the rectangle to make it the right size. So we got the rectangle, a diamond in the middle, 2 triangles. Now we're going to have a star shape at the bottom of the rectangle. Okay. And now draw a circle on the bottom of the rectangle. I'm sorry, is it at the bottom or the top? Okay. The star is at the top, now at the bottom, so you can turn it over.
So confused.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Draw a circle. It should be about the size of a soft drink can and centered on the rectangle. So it's at the bottom. At the top, you got a star. At the bottom, you got a circle. And then draw
Better like on the line.
And yeah, and then draw a heart shape inside the circle.
Oh, Lord.
You're killing us.
And then write the word green and put your name on the paper.
Write the word green in what? The heart?
On the paper anywhere you want to, and put your name on it. Okay, anybody want to share what they got? They can put it up to the camera so your classmates can see it.
I think I messed up on the second rectangle, but yeah.
Okay, we got Martell's. That's damn close. What we got here?
I totally messed
That,
up.
all of those so far are damn close. And I think it's because I was reading it to you over and over. Anybody else want? Yeah, Jeff's got one that's
Oh,
close.
gosh.
Austin's got one that's dang close.
Mine is not,
Okay, you got everything there. The scale part's hard to do. That's one of those three-dimensional skills. So
Realize that
this
I
is,
know how to draw
this
a
is an
line.
email that you just sent to people working for you. You see how complicated and how much you can
Yeah.
lose when it's in a written version. And there's
Mhm.
really directions here that can mean the difference between the shift running right or the loads getting to the right place. What in the world? We got somebody using electronics. Good deal.
Had to do it on my phone. That's all I got on my phone.
There we go. So let's take a look at what it's supposed to look like. This is the green one. And here's the green shape. That's what it's supposed to look like.
Oh, dang, I screwed that up. big time.
yeah, I'm pretty close to that.
Yeah, that's what I said. Most of you had it down pat.
Backwards.
So if you all you had was a text and they wanted you to set up, say, your production to look like this, so they wanted you to put equipment and have it set up. These were all different pieces of equipment. It'd be hard to do in a text. Now that's if you're a somebody that likes to, and I said what you're posting, so you got some audio feedback, plus you got the written version. People who, and the majority of you in this room I know are visual learners. Had I done this reverse and said, draw this figure with this setting up here as an example, you think you could draw it pretty close to scale? Let's give it a try. Try drawing this. You think you can get it closer than what you had if you had the example?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to give you a chance to prove that.
Okay.
That was too simple. That's the one I want. This is a logistics one. So just imagine these. This is the yard that we talked about before, where stuff comes in and it gets staged back into a warehouse. So this is a yard, and you're wanting to tell your shift is ending, and so you're giving a briefing to the new supervisor that's coming on, and you're wanting to give them a briefing about where the trailers are out in the yard. And so tell them how to, without drawing it, tell them in as few steps as you can where those trailers are in the yard.
You want us to tell you? Oh, you mean to write it
You want to
down?
write it down. Yeah, I'm going to have you tell it after you
Oh,
get.
you don't want us to tell them it's out in the back 40 and
I mean, because
a half-hour walk.
Usually what happens is you have a verbal communication with them, and they're like I was talking you through that last diagram, how much of that really was helpful. So if you had it written out or a picture of it, we got technologies go kick, and you got a picture of the lot, right? Next. But this is a communications exercise. So we want to see how you would tell them, recreate this scene in written directions.
I am not an artist at all.
I'm looking for
Written.
Yeah, I'm looking for like 8 sentences telling me how to do this.
But my thing is, so we can just make up our own yard, pretty much layout. Pretty much.
No, what you're going to do is tell me how to draw this without me seeing it. So you're seeing it. I'll just use the yard as an example. But you can say you got 6 rectangles. The first one is this way. There's 3 of them this way. There's one that way. However you want to do it, tell me how to draw this picture. Just like we did with the heart shape, but now you're doing it. You're writing out the directions for my next class. Because those directions you got on that one was from a class that told how to draw that heart, diamond, star, rectangle, triangle monster. You could be in my wife's math class. He's in there having them do calculus stuff. I'm like, I'm getting high, so I better back out of there.
Is she feeling better?
Yes, yes, thanks for asking. It lasted about 2 days. I got my second plague shot Saturday. That was no fun.
Uh-oh.
Just got my first COVID shot.
That one really didn't bother me that much. I got a little bit of a headache, but this other one it just knocked me down. I was tired for 2 days. Luckily, I had gardening to do, so I just went out and worked it off.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't go long. Who wants to give me their first step?
I just said on the near left side of the page, draw a rectangle.
Okay. Who wants to give me their first step? Somebody else?
These were trailers. Were these not trailers?
Yes, or
Okay.
rectangles, however you want to say it.
I put park 3 trailers horizontal behind one another.
Gotcha. We got that done right there. Those 3, right?
Yes.
This
And
is
I
the one
put-
that's always of interest to me.
Then I put, you're gonna do a 45 dock or a 45-degree angle dock and put the trailer end right on the second trailer's nose.
My first step was wait 5 minutes. I'm gonna send you an email with a bullseye.
Or
For
let's
that
walk
structure
outside.
right there, I put to the right of the first vertical structure, a rectangular structure protruding with a right angle of 45 degrees with the bottom left corner of the structure joined between the first and the second vertical structure.
Okay. Do you see how complex this
I
is?
kept it so elementary. It's unbelievable. I mean, I even used the word catacorner. I think I did it wrong, obviously.
Well, I had one student who
I used
was an elementary teacher or something. She said, imagine a capital K. And at the top of that is where one of the trailers is parked, in the capital K. No bottom, just the top part of it.
Right.
This one here, the spacing between here and here, how would you describe that to them?
A trailer with the park.
Okay, there we go. So
I used the direction. It said the 3 trails are facing north. For example, like the direction north. One behind the other.
Bring north in. I actually have folks on the degrees and stuff of 180 and 360 and 45, and people are like,
and then the other one beside the last 2 to the like side of them, and then the other one that crosses like K, that's little difficult for me. And the other trailer is way
direction analogy. Wouldn't that be northwest?
Yeah.
Northeast rather, whatever. See, I can't even get the direction right.
I got a direction.
Okay.
On the left side, park a trailer between the second and third trailers.
Yep, that's it.
That's what I did. And then I even went as far as saying park 1 trailer. I said park 1 trailer or on the left side, on the right side, park 1 trailer horizontally and leave a trailer length. Oh yeah, I wrote that wrong too. Never mind.
See, I was running this exercise by a coworker, and I didn't say, we were just one desk apart. There was like a what's it called, a cube between us.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I want to send you this, and you tell me how to recreate it by writing it out or any way that you want to. So I sent it to him, and he's over there for 20 minutes. This is somebody with an MBA, right? And he's trying to do all these measurements and everything. He's got a protractor getting the right degrees and all that. And I said, dude, it's like 6 trailers and the shift changed already. You're holding up progress here. And so I said, there was nothing that said you couldn't just pick the paper up that I handed you and come over and explain it to me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that said, do this. You could just hold it up and say, do this. Because then you'd be using visual aids to show how to communicate. And if you're asking feedback, like, now this first trailer down here, that's the first one we have to get out of the way because it's full and all this stuff. You could add more to the content of it by having an interaction with feedback where they say something back, or they say, well, any questions about that top trailer, how you're going to get it that way? And then you can get feedback, and that's the way that you make the world go round. But when we do this in the classroom, there's one student in the back of the classroom pointed towards the back of the wall, away from the class, and they got this in their hand. And there's another student, it's usually the one who just walked in. They kind of times that way, like somebody went to the bathroom or they were just late getting the classroom and said, hey, I need you to help me out. And they come up to the front of the class, draw whatever that student tells you to on the whiteboard. And so they're not facing each other. They're not allowed to have any feedback. So when the person says, draw 3 rectangles vertically, and then the person looks back at them like they're waiting for more of an explanation, they're not getting any. And they can't say, are you ready for the next thing, or are you done? They have to listen for the marker to quit squeaking. And then they tell them the next step. And we do those 3 different ways where they write out directions to draw one of these, then they get one and they write the directions and they actually draw one. And then they see how this works with somebody verbally telling them how to do it. The thing of it is all of those take time. We've been doing this exercise for 25 minutes. All of those take time. It's much more simpler to have feedback with visual saying, hey, this is what we need to do, and have the picture of it. You want to go do this together? We can get them set up this way. It's much quicker, and the chance of error is 0, because now you're finding out that the person's got any questions, and they've got a visual representation of what they need to do. So when we're communicating, the whole thing of it is texting is not the way to go. Email, not the way to go, because you lose 80% of your communication when you're just seeing written. One of them that I teach in my sales class is body language.
Right.
And there is, I mean, we do research every semester that I've taught that. And we add another thing that we find to pick up in body language. But I don't know if we talked about this because I'm senile. I may not have. I've already told you this about where your hand is on your face. Did I tell you that already?
No.
2-minute exercise here. Oh, we get Katie on the road again. So we got somebody, when you're talking to them, when you're trying to get a decision or see if they're understanding, and they put their hand on their face, they are actively listening to you, that they are considering whatever you're talking to them about. The further it goes up your face, like your hand, the more closer they are to making a decision, to yes or no decision, right? If it goes over to the nose, that's when you ask them for a decision, because it's just one of the studies that's been done that this is a trigger for like a buying signal. If it goes past the nose, you lost them. You went past the opportunity to get an agreement. Now they're trying to come up with a way to get rid of it. You gave them a headache. It went past the nose. If it gets up here in the forehead, disengage and try again another time, or change the subject or whatever, because you missed it. If it goes in the nose, then you really have lost them. If a finger goes in their nose, then they aren't even paying attention to it. So just on the face, where your hand is, I'm thinking about it, I'm listening to you, go ahead. Closer it gets up, okay, I think I could make a decision with the information that I've got from you. It goes up to the forehead, please just shut the hell up. It goes in their nose, you're not gone yet. I mean, they just turned you off. But we teach the different things, like with people's hands and with where their eyes are moving. I don't know if you ever heard of a shifty-eyed salesperson. It's the same thing if you're having a conversation with an employee. If you're trying to look them in the eye, for some cultures, that's an insult. Yeah. So you could really turn people off by trying to stare them down and look them in the eye. It's a dominant thing in some cultures, like you're just trying to dominate the conversation. So you have to be sensitive to who you're talking to, but some people won't trust you unless you look them in the eye. They want to see if you're lying to them. And so you have to know the people that you're working with well enough to know who expects you to make eye contact and who doesn't want you to. And women sometimes in the workplace, they don't get the respect, or they don't get the consideration of being the expert, because they don't normally, it's not their go-to is eye contact, you know, and
I
now
look
that we're-
away, or when I look down, I intake information better. For some
Yeah.
reason, it's hard. When I look at you in your face, I'm thinking about your facial expressions, everything else other than what you're talking about.
but
always
here's
See,
the
I'm
thing.
the exact opposite. I will
Yeah.
stare through your soul.
I see, people are like that. I don't know why. I just, when I look at people face to face and in their eyes, I wander. My mind starts to wander off.
And it's just different ways people react to it. So sometimes it's considered a confrontation, or it's an intimidation kind of tactic or something. But you have to know when you're communicating that part of the body language is key for some people building trust. Like if you're trying to make eye contact and look away, then don't try to do that anymore. And then you build trust, because they say, okay, they're considerate of the way that made me feel. And so they're aware, they're alerted to, they're communicating. But for folks who want to do the stare down gunfight, here's the thing to remember. If you try to look into both of their eyes, the muscles in your eyes keep compensating for where their eyes are moving. And so if their eyes start twitching, which they do because they're trying to keep up with where your eyes is, each eye is looking, then your eyes start to twitch, and they start to lose confidence that you're being sincere. And so this is the trick, or if you want to call it, this is the way you look somebody in the eye, is look into one of the eyes. You only look at one of them. They can't tell which one you're looking at. But if you just look at one, then you can have a steady, soul-piercing glare that doesn't move. Your eye muscle doesn't try to correct to follow their eyes, because it's just one eye. And if it moves, both of your eyes are tracking where that one eye of theirs moves. But that's one of the things I had to teach folks, like in sales or in management positions. Don't try to stare them down in both eyes, because you can't help it. Your eyes muscles compensate trying to keep up with where they're looking. But if you look in one eye, then it's more relaxed for you, because you're not trying to keep up, and you can still have a conversation by looking one of their eyes. So try that with your significant other, or your hated enemy, or whoever you want to, and you'll see the difference in what kind of feedback you get from it. Okay, so just to show you what I spared you, that shape, that would have been pretty fun, right?
That would have been more simpler.
Yeah, I gave you guys the soul crusher.
Yeah.
That would have been easier.
I just went right to that from 0 to, boom. This one, a fairly simple one. You just stack them all up, right? But this is the one that really you can relate to our vocation when you're talking about where containers are, or pallets, or whatever. And that odd skewed one there is always the one that is interesting to me, how students explain how to recreate that. Okay, so that is our exercise for communications. I can tell you that on previous tests that the students report to me that chapter 7 communication, as far as having more or questions in one area than any of the other ones, it's in that chapter. Chapter 7 about the communications has a lot of it. And so I want to take like 15 minutes of opening the textbook and just to find out and make sure that you look where these terms are, because they get down into the terms on it. But did everybody read the announcement about what's going on with the test?
Mm-hmm.
That Proctor U said, send me that form on one page. So I did. I got a thank you letter from them, like, oh, thank you for doing that. Otherwise they would have had to do it apparently. But this is what I'm looking for, I think.
You did say if we wanted to, we could take the test from home, right? And don't have to go to our nearest testing center.
Right. Tomorrow, they promised me sometime this afternoon, but by tomorrow, you'll be able to see MSSC CLA on Proctor U. It'll be, your test will be assigned to you there if you want to take it from them. And it's no
Did
cost.
anybody else get the textbook in the mail?
I have not.
No,
I
I
have
didn't
not.
either.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Me neither.
Question though, when I look,
I've got 6 of you that I heard more than 6 people say no. I only know about 6 of you that asked for the textbook.
I might have, but
I didn't ask for
You
one.
did. Jeff
Jeff
did.
Finkel,
You
Jeff did.
Yes. I'm looking for.
I have a question. When I look at Proctor U, it shows a 0 balance.
Yeah, they won't charge you anything as long as you sign in as an Ivy Tech student. It's a
Okay.
voucher that's also coming with your test. And so
Okay.
when you pick that test, it's been prepaid.
Okay.
The only reason that there would be anything added in there is they have a premium they charge. If you wanted to take it within 24 hours,
Yeah.
there's a $10 premium or something. If you wanted to take it within 48 hours, well, just pick 2 weeks from now. You know, we don't want you taking it until we've had a chance to go through chapters 8 and 9 and do a review anyway. So, and if you need 2 weeks to get yourself, you know, confident and ready, you know, with the practice test and everything, I'm just want you to get it done around week 5 or 6, so you're not distracted from being prepared to do the next one, the CLT. Like I said,
We still have time to practice our test.
sorry, one at a time, please.
Where's the practice test gonna be?
I didn't hear you.
Where's the practice test gonna be at?
The practice test. It's at OpusWorks. It's out there now. When you first sign into it, let me, am I still sharing screen? Yeah. Let me go to OpusWorks and show you where that's at. When you sign in, on the announcement page is what's the home page when you come into it. Where it says tests and exams. See, this is what you see when you come into OpusWorks. Here it says the practice test for the CLA is test number 4, and the password is 127, log 127. If you want to take it more than that, you just put the password in twice. So if we go to that drop down and we go to tests, then it brings you up to this one where we can put test number 4, and then we put LOGM 127. Say I've already took it once. Then I just put LOGM 127 the second time, and then it kicks in. And this is so close to what you're actually going to be taking for the CLA that what you get on this is 99% of the time what you get on the actual CLA. And you can take this as many times as you want.
Is there any way we can go back and print it out and use that to kind of study with?
You could, but I mean, it's one page at a time. It's ugly. I've got and when students ask for something that they can hold on to it and look at it, I have 90 questions that are taken from the quizzes. But you could actually go to your quizzes where you sent me the screenshots and just look at those 9 screenshots. It's got the same questions.
Yeah, I figured. It's
Well, I think I try to see my like it does give you the last. Why you cannot click anything to the errors or something. That's I'm not sure how to do it.
Is it in the videos for OpusWorks?
Yeah, when I took the test, by the end, it gave me like but I cannot see list. I can see from the modules. Modules, I can see those. Yeah.
Let me show you what that looks like. So we go to classes where you're going to take those modules, and you're opening up our first one. When you download the CLT code that's on our syllabus, which you're going to do in week 5, you'll have this show up on here where it's the mid-level technician. That's what the CLT is. Yeah. But this first one is the fundamental. Let's look at where we are now is on chapter 7. Let's work communications. Let's open that up. And it has 15 pages, and they made, I'm telling you, 15 questions out of those 15 slides. So when we hit the click to play mode and we go through it, it's just loading it a second. I'm going to fast forward through it here. Yada. And then here's like a pre-test question. If you do not understand what a speaker is saying, you should interrupt them and seek clarification.
Oh,
yeah. So in this chapter, it talks about the sender and the receiver, and in the middle, there's noise. That's like distractions and whatever for communication. Okay. What am I doing here? There's 21 questions on this assessment. We're at the
Let's
assessment.
just do it.
Okay.
Customers and delivery drivers.
Well, watch this. I'm going to skip them.
Oh.
And watch what happens at the end. We could do that, but 21 of them, damn, that's a half hour.
They're all 21s.
No, one of them was 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got some 10s. I think there's an 8 out there.
Yeah.
Some of them are smaller, but the more there are, the more you can miss. That's good too.
I
But
have a question while you're talking. I tried to put in for the CLT piece of this practice stat, and I took it would only let me do the test piece. I can't get into each module.
okay, like I said, when we get, if you want to go ahead and start working on the CLT, I'll show you how to do that. But we haven't uploaded the code that you bought for the class to have access to the second half of the class.
All right, all
I was
right.
trying to keep that as a non-distractor here.
Okay.
But we can do that because I see about 5 of you are done with the CLA. If you want to already start working on the stuff for the CLT, that's fine. All right, so I thought I could skip through it, but I think I can do this. Here where it says, click to take the test again, that lets you see the quizzes more than once. Let's look at here. It says post-test results. After you went through it, this is where you can see the questions. You were asking, how do you see the questions? So if I look at this post-test results and I open up one of these, there's all your questions. And so you can take a screenshot of that, and that can be your study material. That'll have the questions that are in that chapter. Here's one that's an 80, because I loan my, when people get messed up, I loan them my account. I tell them I sign in the password. So I've had other students come and use my account to prepare for the test and stuff. But yeah, that's how you see your results. So here's teamwork. I can go to post-test results. I can open up one of those, and here's all of the questions. If you click on any one of those, it opens the question up and it tells you what the correct response was.
Yes, how about the 91 questions? Can we also open it?
On the one for the post test for that one, let's see if that one is under test and exams. I think it is. So here's CLA practice exams. That's just how they come up on other exams. Will show up here. If you click on that one, then it does the same thing. It shows you all 91 questions and which ones you got right and wrong. So you can just go back to the ones you got wrong, and it tells you the right answer. So if you want to hit a print, take a snapshot of the ones that you got wrong, or just read it and say, what's a SKU? And the person put stock kit unit, and the correct answer was stock keeping unit. So you can use it as a review by just going over and clicking on the ones that you've taken. Okay, then I had the question. Let's go ahead and do this in case people want to get started on it. Go into our class to the syllabus. And on that first page, it says CLT class code. Just copy that number, Control copy. And then we come back into OpusWorks, and instead of logging in, we're going to register because this is a whole different class. Okay. You're going to paste in the CLT code from the syllabus, and it's going to basically put you through some of the same screens you went through, like your demographic information, your sign-on name, and your sign-on password. Use the same one you did for the CLA.
I've got a question though. I got that far and I hit I agree and I hit register, and then it said just go to login and everything will upload. I didn't have to do any other screen.
Okay, good.
Okay, so is that okay?
Yeah, if you use the same user and password, then it pulls up your membership information and you shouldn't have to repeat it. That should be an indicator then that you use the wrong login if you're having to go and fill out everything again.
Okay.
But when you log in, you will see that second class on there besides the CLA. It'll show the CLT, and of course you're going to go to classes, and then it'll show up this mid-level technician, and it's got 9 chapters. And these are really a lot smaller than the CLTs. These have 5 questions, almost all of them. They're a lot smaller. So this one has what is this one? 14 pages. Let's see. We'll just look at results. Doesn't tell me how many questions. But I think like for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 questions. So I mean, you'll be able to blaze through this one. But when we get into it, I'll give you more in depth about it. This one is more about your critical thinking than it is about terms and equipment, identifying equipment like we're working in now. It's pretty well spelled out somewhere in that textbook. In this one, it's going to give you a couple situations where they want you to make a judgment call. And so that's the ones that get people maybe caught off guard. But a lot of the questions in the practice exam and the CLT practice exam are situational questions. I put them in there so you'd see the type of questions you're going to encounter when you actually take the other one. So let me look at, let's see, let's go back to tests and exams and see if we can pull the CLT up on there. CLT. So here's the CLT practice test. And based on it, let's pull one up. An item inventory management deals with total inventory movement. True or false? So that's false. True. It's true. And so this is kind of whack. A ladder is 3 yards tall. How many meters is it? Yards to meters. And this is how the tests are when you get into the conversions. It shows you what the conversion is. So it says 1 yard equals 0.0914 meters. 1 meter equals 1.09 yards. And so if it is 3 yards, what would it be converted to in meters?
2.74, but can you use a calculator during the test?
It has one on there. There'll be a little box on there that you click to calculate. And it'll already have those built into it. Already have the conversions in the calculator. But just if I was using guesstimation, you know, on these kind of things, I see 3 yards is a meter is less than a yard. I'm sorry. Yeah. A meter is a yard is less than a meter. And so it's 3. See, I'm getting it backward again. Mm-hmm. It's less than 3 because the meter is larger than a yard. So you know it has to be 2 something or 1 something or 2 something. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be the 3.27, and it wouldn't be the 1.
Right.
Yards and meters are the same. If that said feet,
it's B.
Then you'd have a different setup. Clearly. But we'll get into that when we get in chapter 9. You don't have to really sweat the conversions to that. Okay. So anything else for me to look at while we're out here at Opus Works?
Well, I'm out there right now, and it's asking me, do I want a new student or current student?
Current student. Current
student.
student.
It doesn't allow me to accept that.
Okay, so try the new student, but build your same stuff in it.
Okay.
When it got to that point, it just says you either do new student or log in. So instead of doing new student, just go to log in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So once your code has been initiated, then you log in, it should show up in your library.
It's up on the top left of your screen.
Right.
Go back to the home page.
Go back to tests and exams.
You want to go to classes.
Classes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's there. It's there.
It showed
Perfect.
up. Okay.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Good deal. She saved us having 2 accounts going out there.
Yeah, because I took the practice test and I did a 78, and I didn't look
and you
at
only
any
need
of
like
the,
a 75, so you're already good on the CLT.
I didn't read any of the classes or any of the units or nothing. So I'm going to study those and get a little bit more.
Did anybody try going out to Proctor U today?
Yeah, I did.
I did. I went this morning.
It didn't show that?
No.
Yep. It's
I mean, there's a whole bunch
incognito.
like under the test list, there's tons of like math ones, but there's no logistics.
Right. No logistics.
So, yeah, the email I got from him was thank you. We'll have them there prior to Wednesday. So we'll be good there. Okay, so
when I go you Proctor, it asks me to verify my email and password. Is that the case?
you probably need to do that the first time. And then they're going to have you test your equipment at some point after you make your schedule your exam to make sure that it's going to be compatible with ProctorU. And
Just the login, just to log in.
oh, just
Give
to
me
log in.
the, yeah.
It shouldn't. If you've already built a what's it called out there, an account, it shouldn't do you that way. Let's see. So you get to proctoru.com and you should be able to go over here where it says log in. And when you log in, you're going to use your same stuff that you use with the Ivy Tech account, right?
I arrived here, yeah, and they say sign in, and
Okay,
they give me like
sign in.
Get your email, verify, yeah,
that doesn't
like
need
this.
that. Yeah, let's see if this single login, sign login is more helpful. Institution is Ivy Tech. Yep, it's 2 words. Well, it could be because I'm logging in as a test professor instead of a student. Mine's looking a little different. Let's see what's going on there. But I still should be able to come in from here. Well, it says it knows what my account is, so let's see if it'll sign in. Name and user word don't match. No. Oh, this sucks. Every semester our passwords change, so I don't know what semester I put this in. I'm thinking it was fall.
Yeah, I can't remember mine either.
They'll just be sending me another one. That's probably why it's changed. Okay, I forgot my password. Damn. I hate this. Send it.
If I have a problem with it, is it a phone to call them or something, or?
Yeah, they do have a help desk that responds to us. But let's see. I should be getting some emails from you folks I got another class exactly like you. I mean, I think one of our students from online is in this meeting with us right now. But they're going through the same thing you folks are. And I got a couple of aggressive students that check like every hour. It's still not there. It's still not there. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be up and running here shortly. Let's see what's going on here. Did I send myself something here? Yeah, this is since we've been online. I've got 15 emails. I just wanted to give you a picture of my, let you see this. This is my, can you still see the screen? This is my greenhouse. This is all the plants on this season. They're getting ready to go out in the garden. These things are like, some of them are like 3 foot tall. They're taking up the whole room.
I have a green thumb myself. I have a bunch of plants.
There's 90 tomato plants, 75 pepper plants, probably 24 squash and zucchini.
Do you can as well?
Yeah, I put up 60 quarts of sweet pickles, 60 quarts of dill pickles, and then about 80 quarts. I mean, these are big suckers, not pints, quarts of salsa. And then I do ketchup and spaghetti sauce and just tomato paste with the tomatoes that I grow.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question about
we do taste testing. I bring them in and let people try them out. Yeah, what's up?
do we still have to email you after we've set up both accounts?
That's just still, I already took for granted that you've done it, but I'm giving folks extra credit on our next meeting that we have. If you look in our grade book, I can't show that because everybody's grades come up. There's a date, and that's for our meeting. And so everybody that participated today earned participation points. And what I do is if you've sent me your email and your password, then I give you an additional 10 points for participation that day. Showing me that you got the account set up. If are you my online student or you're in this class, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so I've actually had online students that I give them extra credit on one of their assignments. They may not have done that well. So they make it up there. Okay, so I'm going to end the recording. And then I can answer any questions that you might have.